Greetings, everyone. This is Amenti the Awakener, Amenti the Oracle, joining you live and direct. I thought I'd try and see if I could go live here on YouTube and see how I get on. And I wanted to just share a little bit of information that's been coming to me about this particular Lionsgate 88 portal. There is so much energy being directed at this particular portal, and over the past couple of days I've been receiving a lot of downloads, a lot of information about the importance of this particular sacred gateway. And it has a lot to do with our divine sovereignty, and it has a lot to do with a lot of the chains, a lot of the illusions, a lot of the binds that have been placed on us as humans having this human experience, and the breaking down of these old establishments, these old orders, in favor of bringing truth, in favor of bringing light to the people. You know, this is our time. This is the time of revelation. This is the time of the revealing of truth. This is the time of us awakening, truly awakening on a collective level to who it is that we really are, and the elusive spell that we have been under whilst living on this earth. There's so much information that is coming through. And for me, something significant that happened for me last night was I had a dream. And in this dream, the long and short of it in this dream was I ended up in an area basically where it was the house of this man and this woman, and they both looked like two very highly spiritual beings, a man and a woman, elder man and a woman. I was looking for a pendulum to buy, and I came into their space, and they told me that they have other things that they should show me, and they took me upstairs. Now, normally when you're in a dream and you're going up the stairs, you're taken to a higher level of consciousness, and I was in a room that looked like an old room of mine, and I was picking at these different things, and these different objects that I picked up all represented something specific. So I picked up a gold and diamond ankh, right? A diamond ankh chain. And what that represented was anchoring the diamond frequency, anchoring the diamond light, right? That we are. That's our higher level consciousness. That is our light body. So anchoring that diamond light. Also behind me, I noticed a book, and this book was in a box, and it was two books in this box. And the first book said The Lion, The Boy and the Lion, and then the second book said Solomon's Mysteries. And both of these books happened to be on the top of a wardrobe. So, I thought, that's of significance. I asked for that book, and I was told by a sister that was there that I'm not allowed to have the book. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I woke up. When I woke up, I was hearing the conquering lion shall break every chain. And I've been hearing that every single day of this week. So when I looked deeper into the books, right, the lion book on top of the wardrobe, and it instantly came to my mind, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, right? Which just happens to be one of my absolute favorite movies and stories, right? And what we have to understand is that this reality shows us things through movies, through videos, through films, because art, divine channel for consciousness, right? Art is a way of bringing in divine consciousness, divine information, and embedding it into us through stories, symbols, and codes, right? Stories, symbols, and codes. So I looked deeper into the story of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and especially Aslan. And so when we look at this 88 portal, 8 represents the number of infinity, 8 represents the number of power, 8 represents the number of the light, sovereignty, divine sovereignty, majesty. It is a very powerful number. And so when we look at the number 8 and we place it on its side, that's when we get the infinity symbol. The infinity symbol represents the continuation of time. It represents immortality, represents the perpetual motion, perpetual energy. It also represents 0 point, which is the point that we are moving into right now. So when I looked at that a bit deeper, I thought, okay, Aslan was the lion. The lion is the sovereign, the light, the soul, the light, right? The soul, S-O-L, means the sun, means light, but also our inner soul. When we look at the lion, the Leo sign, it is about shining your soul, shining your light, your true light into the world, right? So I'm getting all of these downloads, and I think to myself, okay, let me look at it a bit deeper. So Aslan, when I actually went back into the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe story, I was guided to the scene where Aslan had decided that he was going to make his sacrifice. He was going to sacrifice his own life, right, in order to save Edmund from being taken over by the Queen. And why did he need to do that? It said that there was an old covenant that was made, the old magic that was old magical pact that was created when this earth was created, right? That said that anybody who erred or was a traitor or basically gave in to their dark side would be tried and held captive by the dark forces. So the wicked witch in this particular story of the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was able to now take the soul of Edmund because he had basically stolen and been a traitor. And I'll explain a bit more about that as I go along. But yeah, that was the thing. And so that was a law that Aslan could not go against. He had to then sacrifice himself. Why did he sacrifice himself? Because he was aware of a law that was more ancient than the law that they were both being held under at that point. And that law says that if somebody who is innocent gives up their life for others, then they will not see death. And that will basically be a payment for the life of the person who has erred and done wrong, right? So again, looking at the metaphors of it, I looked at it and I thought, okay, where have we seen that before? So the Christ story, right? The Christ story talks about the same thing, about the fact that Christ was here to sacrifice himself so that we, the people, can understand who it is that we are and be freed from the trappings of the lower self, right? When we look at this particular realm, there are stories that I heard when I was a child, that there was a story that the devil said to God, oh, I'd be able to turn your children away from you. I'll be able to turn the humans away from you. And God was like, there's no way that you can do that. I know my children will always find their way back to me. So you can you can have dominion over the material world, and you can do everything that you can except to try and take them away from their divinity, except for take their life, because you don't have that power. And so that was something that I was told when I was a child. I don't even know where I really heard it, but it was something that stuck out to me, right? And so this is the realm of the lower self. This realm that we're in right now is the realm of the lower self. When you look at light being refracted through the prism, which is what creates the visual aspect of this realm, sometimes they connect that with Lucifer, the light bearer, right? Because this is the realm of light refracted. We are in this world of light refracted. And when you refract light, even the light that comes out is elusive, right? It's an illusion. So it might shine on shadows. It might create different things, right? So the world that we're living in is based on that. The world that we're living in is based on matter, right? It's based on matter also. And matter is the material world. And so Satan, so to speak, or the dark forces have dominion over the material world, right? We have to understand that we are not this material world. We have to understand that we are divine. And that is our lesson here, to understand our divinity and to uncover our divinity. 1 second. To understand our divinity, to understand that we are God. Flesh. This whole reality is a testing ground, an experiencing ground. Earth is a school where we learn to understand who we are as God, right? We learn to understand that we are the divine in this time, in this flesh, right? And told to be in this world but not of this world. It's so deep that even when we are born, right, when we are born through our mother's stargate, she then goes and gets a birth certificate, which now becomes a bond. That birth certificate creates what's called a straw man, or a legal aspect of you that can be held accountable in this reality, right? It can have debt, it can have all of these things which your soul cannot have. Your soul cannot have debt. And that's how we have also been embedded into this reality of matter. And so we start to live as if we are this reality of matter. Another thing I want to bring in is that there is a divine covenant. There's a divine covenant with the Creator, right? We are the beneficiaries, the children of God. We are the beneficiaries of all that God has made available to us, the divine Creator, right? So this world is given to us in trust. And it's important to know that word, trust. Trust funds. This world is given to us in trust. We are the beneficiaries of this reality. We are the beneficiaries of this world. So we're here to enjoy the plentifulness of this world. Our only, our only bylaw or clause is that we have to ensure that we protect this planet, protect the earth, so that it can be here for generations to come, right? So that is basically all we're here to do. We're here to understand that we are God. We're here to express ourselves. The art, as I said, is comes through our creativity, through our unique divine expression of who it is that we are as the creator. And through our experiences, just through experiencing, we add that knowledge and information gained from our experiences into the Akashic records, so that other souls who come into this realm can also come and experience having, what it means to be a soul embodied, what it means to be God in the flesh, right? And there is so much ancient wisdom and so much ancient language and energy that is in the trees, it's in the air, it's in the land, it's been cultivated, right? The richness is part of us, and as we walk on this earth, we are also activated. Those old codes are activated. Many of us in this time have been into this planet many times before, and when we've been here to this planet, we've been a part of many significant events, right? And we're here at this particular time to not only undo what was done, but to gain the karma. The karmas are our lessons, right? We need to get the understanding of the choices that we made, so that we can be a part of bringing the shift, bringing the change, so that we can move into a higher dimensional experience, moving away from the lower self, which is the realm that Satan, the elusive energy, governs and controls, right? The lower self governs and controls, right? So yeah, it's like that. Our journey here is to be God in the flesh, to understand who we are as creators, to be a part of looking after the earth, or of protecting the earth, preserving the earth, but also understanding that we are divine sovereign beings, right? And in a way, we kind of have to fight for that sovereignty through the acknowledgement of that sovereignty. We are living in a world where we're constantly being told that we are slaves and put into positions of slaves, but a slave is only somebody who does not know that they are free. Say a slave is only somebody who's not using their free will in the way that allows them to understand that nothing outside of them can harm them or have control over them. We are the divine sovereign beings. And so in a sense, our consciousness was bound to a system, and, our educational system and all of these things were there, set in a way to suppress us and disconnect us from the truth of who it is that we really are, right? And we're seeing this awakening taking place on the planet now. We're seeing this shift that's taking place in the planet now. And there's so many bits of information that are coming through. I will look at the comments afterwards. I don't really want to look at them now, just because I don't want to throw myself off of my path. So bringing it back to the story of Aslan, right? So we're talking about sovereignty. When you look at even the old queen's crest, you see the lion and you see the unicorn, but why don't we see unicorns anymore? I will talk about that as well, right? So Aslan, in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, he had to sacrifice himself, just like the Christ sacrificed himself as an innocent, in order to bring around resurrection and immortality, and also as a lesson to show us that we are that immortal light, that immortal flame. We are divine sovereign beings, right? And so another thing that came to me is that when Aslan was sacrificed, it was sacrificed on a stone table, right? This stone table had sigils, Fey language around the stone table, right? So that's the old wisdom, the old magic of this land, right? But we also saw that at that time and before that time, the old magic, the Fey people, the elementals, the unicorns, the angels, the giants, all of these beings, they used to live on this planet. They used to live on this plane, and they also used to live around the time of Atlantis. And if you've seen my video with the magenta pixie, you know that especially in England, this is old Atlantis. It's called Nohas, right? It's this old Atlantis. So a lot of the beings from Lemuria, a lot of the beings from Atlantis found refuge on this land. Even when we look at the ancient Druids, we look at the ancient Druids who were on this land, who kept the old ancient ways and histories. Even the Ethiopians came here and worked with the Druids and shared information and taught the Druids. Because if you look at St. Patrick, who came to Iona, I think it was, and worked with the Druids. So there is this original covenant, original history between the original peoples of this land, right? The 12 original tribes are the 12 indigenous tribes of this land, of Earth, right? Who have the 12 original 12 strands and the original gene codes, right? So and they spoke in commandments, in sigils, in symbols, in sacred ancient words, right? So when Aslan was on the stone table, these stone tables had sigils, had words around it which represented the old magic. That's why he had to be done on the stone table, because then that would break the spell that could tell the spell of death and the spell of illusion. So Aslan represented that resurrection. 8 is also the number of resurrection. And don't forget, the Lion's Gate portal is on the 8th of the 8th, right? So double resurrection of our light. And so as I started to look into that, I started to look at the White Witch. The White Witch was a cross between a jinn and a giant. Jinns and giants, right? When we look at giants, we look at the Nephilims, we look at the Anunnakis, we look at all of the beings that were here before the fall, so to speak, of the created man, right? So this place is so rich with ancient knowledge and history. Another thing that came up for me. So let me just see if I'm finished with the Aslan thing. So so the Lion of Judah, because the other book that I saw on the wardrobe, the other book, remember it said Solomon's Mysteries, and there was a book that I was really attracted to by Doreen Virtues called Solomon's Angels, because I always knew I had a very deep connection to Queen Makeda, right, who is the Queen of Solomon, even to the point where I used to hate my feet, right, hate the look of my feet, and she was said to have had feet that she didn't like because she was part jinn, part human. And it's so interesting how different stories connect with us on a soul level. Like, I can tell you all of the stories that are in my soul that I know that I've experienced in this realm, right? From the beginning of my soul's inception right up until now. And in this lifetime, I've had to go through reconnecting with all of those lives, like even meeting the divine masculines or the people that were involved in my journeys and stories at those times, reclaiming the lost parts of myself, right? And so this history is so rich. So bringing it back to Aslan, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. So these stories, let me just say, these stories are not just stories, they're in our souls, right? They're in our souls memories, and so they activate certain parts of us. So when we look again at Aslan, I think that's gone. I'm sorry, I was talking and it was going. Yeah. Anyway, so there is a richness of this land. And also, so I was talking about Queen Makeda. The second book was Solomon's Mysteries, and that was about Solomon, King Solomon, and his meeting of Queen Makeda. And how that is so important is because Solomon was the last holder of the Ark of the Covenant before the Ark of the Covenant was then taken to Ethiopia, or Punt, which is where Queen of Sheba was, and also Queen Hatshepsut used to visit regular. And I spoke a little bit about that in the channeling that I did from the Magenta Pixie. So we're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, which is not what people think it is. It's a Stargate box, and it has to have the tools that are in it have to be held together in order for the activation of it, which is going to take place during this time. Anyway, so I was linked back to that story of Solomon and realizing that Solomon is in the lineage of David, which they say is the lineage of the Lion of Judah, the tribe of the Lion of Judah. And when you look at Revelations, it says, "Behold ye the conquering Lion of Judah." So I asked, what does that mean? So when you look at Solomonic law, when you look at Solomon, then you go back to Moses, a lot of the laws of this land, right, the original laws of this land go back to that time, the time of the Abrahamic lineage, the time of the tribe of Judah. Then I was taken back to the time of Moses, right? And Moses was the last person with stone tablets. The stone tablets had the 10 commandments on it. And what Spirit showed me is that the 10 commandments aren't the laws that we think that they are. They are tones and frequencies that activate our divine sovereignty. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I left some offerings for the ancestors over there, and there's so many flies and everything eating it, which is a beautiful experience. Anyway, so I was basically recharting this lineage of divine sovereignty right back to Moses and Solomon and all of the sacred mystery of those times as well. And the message was the conquering Lion of Judah will break every chain. The chain is the illusion of being bound or being enslaved. The chains are the illusions of the old organizations and old systems. Because when you look at Abraham and you look at the, the Solomonic, it's all ancient. And obviously the Masons also, utilize Solomon magic and a lot of the Solomonic information. So it's the breaking down of those old archaic structures which have built their house upon the house of God, upon the house of the people, upon the house of the free, right? So it's talking about those patriarchal constructs being broken down and those chains being broken and those binds being broken from allowing us to see our true divine sovereignty, which is the lion, which is Leo. So that was coming in for me to just help us to understand why this particular Lion's Gate is so important, because we're already seeing the destabilization of a lot of these organizations and structures taking place around us, these old establishments. And as we are in the North Node of Gemini and the South Node of Sagittarius, that also shows us the breaking down and moving away from these old structures, these old archaic, suppressive, patriarchal structures in favor of new life, in favor of us being the child of God, right? In favor of moving into a space of divinity. Even when we look at things like trust and trust law and all of these things, we've moved away from trust. Our word used to be our bond. Even the instruments that we use in terms of money and things like that, those take us away from trust. And that's how we've been able to be taken out of our divinity, right? Taken away from our divinity, the divine trust, our words being our bond. And that's what we need to move back into. Because when we don't have trust, when we fall into the lower self is likened to the lower three chakras. So the root chakra, which is governed by survival, the sacral chakra, which is governed by our sexual energy, and then the solar plexus, which is power. And when you look at the three-dimensional world, it's always trying to not attack us, but to test us in those three areas, right? But in order for us to gain dominion over that, we have to master the lower self. So we have to master those aspects within ourselves and push us back, put our consciousness back into our heart, right? The heart feels and knows. The heart is about trust. The heart is about connection, right? Understanding that we are all one. We can work together because I can feel the truth in you and you can feel the truth in me, right? Ashiana Dean is somebody that came up on my journey as well, and a lot of her work, people don't really understand it, but she wrote it for those of us, the aura themes, those of us who I'm a blue flame holder, so a lot of us are activating that consciousness within us right now, right? And what I find interesting is that we've been taught not to believe or in things like the giants and the Nephilims and the unicorns and the angels and all of these things. However, it's written even in the Bible about these things, right? About the Nephilims and the daughters of man and copulating with the Anunnakis, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is something that is there. But another thing that I was watching, which was very interesting, and I'll be honest, I couldn't get to the fullness of it because there was so much of my soul consciousness that was awakening. In the video that I did with Magenta Pixie, when I got the download from Merlin, it reminded me of a past life that I'd had where I was a child and Merlin had given over something to me and told me I have to now take this and take over because he had erred from his path, right? And I remember that life where I used to live in the forest, and it was a time where there was supposed to be an awakening, but the plan was usurped. And so the people were now falling back in their consciousness, right? And so, sorry, these comments be putting me off sometimes. So when I was, I've always remembered that lifetime, and it's always been something that was active in me as well. And so I've always known that it's connected to Merlin, it was connected to Arthur, it was also connected to the Robin Hood times, right? A lot of us were here at this time. Why? Because that was the time where it was the kind of the bridge between the two worlds, right? At that point, the fairies, the elementals, all of those beings were still in our consciousness. We were still able to see them. We were still able to connect with with them. But what was happening at that point was that man was starting to gain dominance over the planet, and not just man, the Catholic Church, right? And the Catholic Church was what put out this rhetoric that all of people who are spiritually inclined or connected to nature are witches and heretics, and they started to go around doing these holy wars, basically massacring and destroying the ancient ways of this planet so that humanity can descend in consciousness, right? So that we would no longer have that connection to spirit and to nature and to understanding who it is that we truly are, and that we would now be praising this illusion of death, right? When you look at Christ on the cross, it's death, it's not life, that's death, right? How is that life if somebody is dead and blood is pouring away from them? And so it made no sense to me. And I know God, right? I know God from the beginning of my inception. I knew that I was the divine feminine aspect of the creator. I spoke to God every second of every day, right? How you would speak, how you have a voice in your mind that narrates you through life, that was my connection with God. So, but when I went on a search for God, I couldn't find God in these places. I couldn't find God in church. And I didn't feel like the people who were saying that they knew God were actually even connecting with God in the same way that I was. Like, there was no truth in what was being said. So at that time of, the Templars and the Crusades and all of those things were about destroying this ancient magic, destroying our connection to the creator and to the source and to the elementals and to all of these beings of higher vibrations and higher vibrations, And we had a divine connection with these beings. But then when the patriarchal rule started to come, and the Vatican and all of these places, they set about destroying our connection to these realms, destroying the homes of the Fae people, burning the witches and all of these kind of things. And a lot of that is still in our consciousness. I've always asked, why are we here? Why are we on this land? Because our blood is connected to this land. A lot of the healings that I've been doing with clients recently as well has been taking them back into old old past lives where they've made blood covenants or sacrifices or been burnt or things like that, and to help them to uncover the karma in those lessons, and also undo some of the vows that had been created, those vows that have been made. Many women and many men were persecuted into giving over their power, persecuted into falsely aligning with the church, and I had to ask myself, like, why would so much blood be shed for the word of God, right? That makes no sense. Persecution and killing in order to get people to know God makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. And that's because it's not of God. That is not of God. And this is just my truth. It is not of God, right? So there was a deliberate agenda. And Ashana Dean talks about this in her book, but it's very difficult for people to understand it because of the cognitive dissonance, right? But the Council of Nicaea was when they basically concocted that plan to now bring the so-called version of Christianity that they have. I'm not saying that there is an original story of Christianity, and there is, right? And you have to look towards the East. Who's in the East? The Ethiopians. That's where the information is. It's not in the West, right? The West is the realm of the dead. The realm of light is the East, right? They usurped the Christ story. They all came together. They took out so many powerful books from the so-called Bible and put together this Biblios, which was always going to leave people in an elusive state. There are certain things that they left in there that they couldn't understand, like the Psalms and the script and certain scriptures. And in those Psalms and scriptures are the understanding and the truth keys that we, the awakened ones, need and can see and can still use to access the power. But there was a deliberate agenda to basically destroy the spiritual consciousness of the higher beings, so that we don't have access to our higher beings and higher intelligence, and so we are suppressed and just basically left in our lower self, right? And so the holy wars, which they so called, were really about destroying the divinity and destroying our connection to the creator. And so I was guided yesterday to watch a program called Cursed, right, on Netflix. And I got to series 2 and I couldn't watch anymore. Why? Just because it was activating so many codes in me. I always knew about Nimue, and many people didn't know about Nimue. It wasn't Guinevere who Arthur married that was the divine feminine. It was Nimue. But Merlin was part of usurping the original agenda for Arthur and Nimue to secure the Ark of the Covenant box, right? And which is all about preserving and protecting the sovereignty of humanity. so that this planet can ascend as she's supposed to, and we can ascend and evolve as we're supposed to, right? Because there is a natural genetic soul evolution that is meant to take place, and through the genetic manipulation of certain of these human beings that we see, like all of us are not the same creative the beings that have been created by the creator. Some of us have been created by those who have been created, right? Genetically modified beings. If you look at Darwin's theory of evolution, then you can see that there is a gap missing. Why is there a gap missing? Because there was a genetic modification of a race of people, okay? And so we have to understand that we are not all vibrating from the same origin of place, right? And that's just the truth. Some of us are created and some of us are creator beings. And so yeah, it just brought me to understand that at that particular time, you know, when you look at the Roman Catholic Church and the onslaught that they took across the world through bloodshed in order to preach the word of God, it was for dominion and control. There are certain Anunnaki, there are certain I want to call them extraterrestrial, but they're not extraterrestrial. Some of them are actually interterrestrial. But there are different bloodlines. There are different, I want to call them alien races, right? You got the Jehovians, you got the Anunnakis, but they're all, not all Anunnakis are bad. You got the Luciferians, you got so many different ones, right? That have actually infiltrated the human race, the human agenda, and have given energies and given powers to certain bloodline families so that they're able to have the power and dominion and control over the masses. That's why they control the money, they control the media, they control the realm of Satan, the realm of this illusion. But it's our job to understand that we are not of this plane, that we are not of this earth, that there is nothing outside of us that can harm us. If you look at the stories of Jesus and you look at all of the different stories, every one of us is tested in our darkness, right? You know, when we talk about Jesus in the 40 days and the 40 nights, when he had the devil talking to him, where was the devil? Inside of his mind. It's your lower self. Really, this is all you. This is all your creation. This is all you experiencing you as yourself, as God coming to have this experience. But there's also different levels to it as well, right? Because we are all here together as different expressions of the one true light. So bringing it back to the cursed story, I couldn't watch it because it was activating so many different things in me. And one of the main things that it was showing us, because it talks about the paladins, which are basically the ones who are from the church, right? Who are out here saying that, oh, we have to burn these witches because their souls are evil. And by us burning them, we're giving them, you know, we're redeeming them and all of these things. And when you think of the energy, when you feel the energy of these people, they do not feel of the light. They do not feel of the light, right? And that's what we were going through as beings. We were going through this mass suppression by these beings who sought to keep us in our lower self and to enslave our consciousness. And so the lion, right? The lion made the sacrifice. We are the lions. We are the light. And we have to utilize our light to break those chains, of illusion, to break those chains of, lack and all of these kind of things. Like, we are not lacking beings. We are abundant. We are divinely abundant. It's our inheritance, our divine inheritance to be on this planet. Our gifts and our talents that we have are the currency that we need in order for us to live freely and abundantly on this planet, right? And so it's about returning to that understanding and understanding the power, the true divine sovereign power in all of us. When we move collectively as one, then that system cannot thrive. It thrives through our ignorance. And this is not the time of ignorance. The time of awakening is about learning to see the truth and be the truth. Right? And so when these movies come out, they come out for a reason. As I said to you, spirit speaks and communicates with us through signs, symbols, and art. Movies are art. Somebody is channeling that information, right? And bringing in those codes to awaken us to what is really taking place on this planet. And so this particular Lion's Gate portal, my people, is very, very, very important. You need to be thinking about, if you can join a sacred circle. I'm having a ceremony. Sorry about the camera. Yeah, I'm having a sacred ceremony on the 8th of the 8th, which is also going to be followed by 8 days of prosperities, because I'm going to have a group and we're going to get together and we're going to really just align with the joy frequency, because everything that's happening right now in our world is trying to get us to go into our lower self, to go into a space and state of fear, right? When really our awakening is here, when really there's an opportunity for the change to be broken. So we have to understand that joy is the frequency, the currency that allows us to be in our divine state, right? In our divine state. We are divine, abundant beings. And it's time for us to stand in our divine sovereignty. And so what you need to be doing for this 8/8 Lionsgate portal is really tapping into your inner light, tapping into your inner strength, right? There's going to be things that are going to happen over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Do not allow yourself to go into a space of fear. Stay within the realm of trust, right? Stay within the realm of truth. Think and take time to respond and not react to situations. Think about what information you're taking in it. If it puts you in a space of fear, then release that. If it puts you in a space of freedom, then own that, take it, go with it, right? You are here to define your life, your reality, and each and every one of you has come on this plane in this time to be a part of this shift. We don't have to fight anyone. We just have to be our light. We have to stand in our truth. Look at the untruths that are being told. Oh, you've got to wear a mask. You've got to do this. How many people are doing this? Only those who choose to subscribe to that system. Only those who are choosing to be asleep. And it's not for you to try and change everybody, right? Some beings have come to be a part of that reality. Some beings have come to be a part of the artificial intelligent reality. But this is not, I don't like to use the word war, because there's no such thing as war. There is no war. There is no spiritual war. Everything requires resistance in order to grow, right? But we're just moving out of the realm of duality, the need to experience things in opposites, and moving into the realm of truth, moving into the realm of the heart. When you look at the word heart, it's also the word earth, right? So we are connecting to the earth by being in our heart. And when you look at the word lion heart, right? The lion heart is the heart that is confident, the heart that knows, the heart that is truthful, the heart that is willing to protect. When you look at Sekhmet, who is the lioness goddess in ancient Kemet, Sekhmet represents compassionate compassionate love. Our love has to be protected. We have to be willing to sacrifice. Sacrifice being right, sacrifice being loved by everybody, sacrifice be following the crowd in order to be able to honor our truth, right? And go with what really feels good in our heart, what really feels true in our heart. We are moving into another stage of elevation, people. This is not something that can be hijacked by anybody. Ooh, 44 people and 14 likes. I love it. This cannot be hijacked by anyone. Only if you allow yourself to go into your lower self frequency and think that something outside of you is going to control you. Remember what I said. God said to the devil in the story that, at the end of the day, you can't do anything to you cannot take their life. All you can do is, do as much illusionary tricks as you want to make them think that they are not God, or make them think that they can be destroyed. How do you destroy the indestructible? By making it think that it can be destroyed, because then it will destroy itself. Think about what I'm saying. So it's really time for us to step into our power. If you feel aligned to do a guided meditation, want to follow a group that you feel aligned with, go for it, because the Lion's Portal is all about us moving into our divine sovereignty. It's about releasing the chains and choosing no longer to be bound to this system of illusion. It's about making a choice. It's about walking into your divine destiny. It's about seeing your most powerful self. And as I said, our job on this planet is to live our best life. And it's to look after the planet and to share our gifts with each other and ensure that this planet can remain and continue for the generations to come. That is it. That is it. So there's loads of information in there, and I'm sure you can understand. This is how my spirit works, and I speak so fast because it literally is channeling. This is how I communicate, how God communicates with me. But I knew it was something that I really needed to share with you guys. And there's so much more that I want to share, but it's difficult to share it on the social media platforms. So please, if you really are down and into this information, and not just into the information, want to be part of creating a sustainable future, want to know how to free yourself yourself from the birth certificates and all of these kind of things, please, please, please do join my Patreon. I'm going to be using it so much more because they're censoring a lot of stuff, and I just want to be able to be in a space to liberate those who are ready, right? This is the time for those who are ready. This ascension window that we're in, that started in 2020, is not going to end until 2030, 2032. So it's just not a rush in a sense, but if you feel it, if you're ready to go, if you can feel the energy, let's move. Let us move. Let us move. Look at the trees. This is my special place. I'm gonna sing to you a song that the ancestors sang to me. Like the spirit talks to me in so many different ways. And one of the songs I sang or heard when I came here, it says, the ancestors keep telling you, your God, believe it, your God, believe it and know. When the ancestors keep telling you, you're powerful, believe it, you're powerful, believe it and know. Ashe, ashe, ancestors guide the way. When the ancestors keep telling you, you're powerful, believe it. Oh my God. I just love it. This whole place just sings to me. We are the ancient ones that have returned. Don't let anybody ever stop you and make you feel like you're tethered to this false reality. It is false for a reason. It's false for a reason. If you do have any questions, then please, I can look at the comments now. I really couldn't look at it before because I was channeling. But if you do have any questions or you got anything that you want to add, Sophie says, in meditation, you appeared and were guiding me, embodying the blue flame. I am the blue flame holder. I am Amenti. And I always knew that that was going to happen. And Amenti is not just about the blue flame. Amenti is about a sacred covenant and mission that was created all the way at the beginning of the inception of this planet to ensure that humanity would make it to their ascension, right? So this is not, there is no usurping of this. It is happening, right? It is happening. So, yeah. Thank you. Someone said, great to see you amongst nature, the light, the plants and trees. Ye are all ancient edifices. I love that. And even how I got to this place, right? I was doing some grid work maybe about 4 years ago now. Just saw some beautiful birds just flying 4 years ago now, and I was doing some grid work in a place called Camelot Moat in Trent Park, which is this is the ancient park that I'm in, and this particular part of the forest is called Snake's Lane. And the snake trees are amazingly beautiful. And I was doing some clearing on the ancient Camelot Moat because my spirit showed me there were some soul codes there that needed activating. And I even met a guy there who said that he was the soul of Arthur, and he came with his son. And he said to me, I can see what you're doing and you're waking up the forest. Maybe you need to go over there. That's where the old well used to be, the Lady of the Lake. And so I went there and I started to tone, because one of my things is sound, right? So sound, and I work with 0 point energy. I work with the quantum field of consciousness, the 0 point. I hold that frequency. And so when I went to do the toning there, all of these people started to gather around. It was so beautiful. And we really started to raise the vibration of this space. The elementals started to come out. You can hear all of the different light beings that were also singing and toning with us. The next day, I basically received a letter saying I had to leave my house. Me and my children had to leave the house that day. And I prayed and I was like, well, where am I going? Like, where are we going to go to? And so we went to go and seek a property. And by the end of the day, I ended up here in a place called Oakwood. And the oaks are the most ancient trees. And even in the African culture and tradition, because I'm a unifier, right? So I have spent my whole life unifying the different cultures, because there is one story. And I've also been traveling around the world, clearing ancient karmic debts, right? And one of the karmas was connected to our African people and the way that we've engaged in spirituality. And one of the ancient trees, one of the most ancient trees in the Yoruba culture, is the oak wood tree, the Iroko tree. And so where I live, I'm surrounded by oak trees, right? So spirit brought me to the place where I was needed to anchor the frequencies that I was bringing in. So listen, this journey is so magical. Sophie says, I can't wait to have my one-on-one with you. I'm looking forward to it too. I will let you know as soon as I get my schedule together. Somebody says, I've heard through quantum healing and hypnosis that we are going to transcend to 5D realm, new earth physically. Also, we are due to a solar flash, meaning, oh, and it's gone, meaning that there will be a separation. The separation is in consciousness. Some people will choose to ascend and some people won't. It's literally like that. You know, I was in Africa last year, and I had to do a tour in Africa, and I went from Ethiopia to Ghana to Uganda, back to Egypt, and then Ethiopia. And when I was in Uganda, I already experienced 5D. 5D is a vibrational level of consciousness. And once you are living from that frequency consciously, everything in your reality will reflect that. So yes, there will be a separation, because some people will literally be living in hell because that's what they subscribe to. And we the ones who are we the ones who are choosing to bring in these high energy frequencies will be sent to different grid points in the planet where we can easily raise the vibration of those spaces. So yeah, it is a mental consciousness and also a physical consciousness, because we also raise the vibrational frequency of wherever it is that we are. And this planet has many different ley lines, many different sacred spaces that already hold these frequencies. Don't forget, you've got inner earth, you've got places like Mount Shasta, and different places are already vibrating at these higher level frequencies of energies, right? So yeah, we are multidimensional, and so is this earth, and we have to get out of linear thinking. 44 minutes, 44 people, yes, 444, the foundation, the angelic realms. You know, I'm also studying a lot on sacred geometry, and how important sacred geometry, the platonic solids especially, are supporting us to create this reality that we're in. So yeah, do make sure if for the Lion's Gate you do some meditations where you just allow the lion energy to break off the chains of illusion, that you choose to stand in your power, your divine sovereign power, and you choose to acknowledge your divine sovereignty as a divine sovereign being, as a child, as a Christed child of God, and this is all you need to do. And then live from that place, live from that place, live from that space, live that truth. And it will be so. I'm just reading through these beautiful, beautiful comments. I also posted on my Facebook, the download that I got this morning. But again, not everybody's ready for this information. And that's why I'm taking it to my Patreon now. Because I know that there's many of you who are ready and who are awake. But, there are also a lot of people who are sleeping and want to stay asleep. And so we let them sleep. And when they are ready, they'll come and find us. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, check out the what is it, Cursed on Netflix. I think I'll go back into it, but boy, it was just awakening all of these old traumatic codes, But we release, and we invite the elementals, we invite the guides, the horses, the unicorns. Why do you think that they have the unicorn on their royal emblem? Come on. And the unicorn is so precious and so needed for us to get into the heart. It clears all traumas. It raises the vibration of the heart and the third eye, This land that we live on is ancient. Don't let fool you. And we are the ancient ones returned. We are the ancient ones returned. I love you all. And I thought I'd try and come and do it live on YouTube and see how it goes. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. I've got a lot of things coming up. Spirit is really guiding me to start teaching, and teaching many of you how to awaken these soul codes, how to start doing this quantum healing, right? Quantum soul healing, so that you can help assist not only yourself but others. People are waking up to Reiki, but Reiki is a third dimensional healing modality. The fact that so many people are awake to Reiki means that it's obsolete, right? It's time to upgrade your energy. It's time to upgrade your consciousness. So if you're interested, then please do send me an email, Amenti the Awakener official @gmail.com. Yeah, as I said, my Patreon, Amenti the Awakener. If you want to make a donation, I'll put all of the comments in the bottom. I'll put all the details in the comments box below. But I really just wanted to come on. 47 minutes and 47 people. Come on, come on. I really just wanted to take this opportunity to share this information in the hope that it will awaken and trigger so many of you, so many of you. Yes, diamond light codes. That was it. So thank you, Emily. You just triggered me as well, because remember I told you the diamond unk, right? That was one of the gifts that I picked up in my dream. The diamond unk represented activating our light body and grounding it into the earth, anchoring our higher dimensional selves. And I do have a meditation to activate your rainbow body that goes with my healing modality, Universal Divine Flow Healing. So if you're interested in that, then please do send me a request via my email, Amenti the Awakener official. But it is time for us to activate our light body and anchor that divine energy onto the earth. We are in exciting times, my people. I'm going to put all of the details in the comment box after this video, and so if you want to find out all of the rest of it, you can. Somebody wrote, I had a few strange experiences with telekinesis, especially with glass. One of the things I'm going to be teaching you is how to connect with your original inner senses, right? The five senses are just nothing compared to the telekinesis, the biolocation, even being an empath. That's one of our natural senses, and there's a process of evolution that we're supposed to take so that by the age of 33 we are our Christos self, and by the age of 44 we are our avatar self, functioning at that level. I am only now activating and anchoring my avatar self and bringing in my higher dimensional self from other soul aspects, right? But this is something that's naturally supposed to happen to us, but the splicing and the genetic modification of our DNA is what has stopped us from being able to access our higher energy, our higher frequencies. And so in Universal Divine Flow Healing, which is my quantum healing program that I received when I was in Egypt in 2013, it helps us to start activating the DNA. It helps us to start activating all of those latent inner senses, but also releasing the genetic coding, right? Check out things like Jehovah's seals, genetic codes and implants that have been placed on the human body that we activate when we go through our mother's womb, and sometimes even before we come out of the womb through cesarean. So there's so much I want to share with you guys, people, but this is not the place to do so. So please do hit me up. I'm going to put my details in the comment box below, and I hope to see you all very soon. This is Amenti the Awakener, Amenti the Oracle, Aya Asa, higher self of the Divine Feminine. And I just want to send you so much love of the highest vibration. See you all. Bye. Don't know how I'm going to finish this, but I'll figure it out. Amazing. Okay. 1 second.